Alright, I apologize for not getting a video up to you guys in a while. As you can tell, I just moved into a new apartment, so it's been a little hectic with that, but you know what? Let's finally talk about the movie that is probably one of the most anticipated of the whole year. Joker is not really a superhero movie. It's more of a psychological thriller slash comic book movie that tells a story, well, the origin story, I should say, of how the Joker became who he was. This was easily one of my most anticipated movies of the whole year. You all know I'm a huge superhero fan. I love Batman. Joker is one of the greatest comic book characters and villains ever. He's probably the greatest comic book villain ever. But we really never had gotten a true origin story to how whoever he was beforehand, how he became the monster that he was, this psychotic, murdering psychopath that he became. And when I found out we were getting that kind of origin story movie with the Joker and Joaquin Phoenix was going to be playing him, I was really excited for this movie. This sounded like it had the makings to be amazing. And after seeing Joker, I think I speak for us all when I say it may not be the movie a lot of us were expecting, but it was an amazing movie nonetheless. I loved this movie so much. This was everything I wanted it to be and what I was expecting it to be. And I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys. So as I said, Joaquin Phoenix plays the Joker, except before he becomes the Joker, we see him as this man, Arthur Fleck. He works as this party clown. He lives with his mother, Penny, in Gotham. Gotham is like completely run by crime. It's just a shitty place to be right now. Thomas Wayne is trying to run for mayor. I'm just going to get into it right now. Joaquin Phoenix, this might be the best performance of his career. If he's not up for an Oscar, something is seriously wrong. Obviously his performance is great, but what really stands out for him is just seeing the gradual decline that he has in someone with a mental illness. You really buy how someone with the condition that he has, how they can just regress into such a chaotic person. That's definitely the area of the movie that I will really give this movie props to, is the fact that this movie does a really good job at really showing what mental illness is and how it takes effect on certain people. The character Arthur Fleck is clearly someone who has depression. He's someone who doesn't really know how to express himself. One area that I really appreciated seeing is he has this kind of condition. He even has a card that he has to go around to give people to explain what it is at random points, for no reason whatsoever, he will just start laughing uncontrollably, literally about nothing. Like, nothing funny could have happened. He'll start laughing for the sake of it, to the point where he's like choking on his laughter. I really like seeing that because that kind of preludes to Arthur Fleck becoming the Joker, because we know the Joker for laughing all the time, laughing at literally anything, and having that really creepy, dark laugh to him. What definitely made kind of a dark atmosphere in this movie is just how Arthur Fleck would laugh at certain things. Like, there's one moment in particular, someone said something kind of funny, you know, everyone at his work is laughing at the joke, he's laughing at it for a while, kind of in a delayed laughter, and immediately, for no reason whatsoever, he'll just go from laughing to just dead silence, like immediately. Like, you know how when you're laughing at a joke that you find funny for a while, like, you kind of gradually, like, you know, stop laughing at it, like, you know, you laugh a little bit less, you start breathing a little bit heavier, or I guess normally I should say. In his case, he'll just go from laughing maniacally and then just nothing, just dead silence, and you're just like, something's definitely off about you. Another great example is he wants to be a stand-up comic, so he'll go to a lot of, you know, comedian shows, and he will see, you know, he'll study, you know, certain comics giving their performance, telling their jokes, and audiences are typically laughing at the punchline. He's laughing at something that has nothing to do with the punchline. It's either like a delayed laughter, or he's laughing at something that is kind of leading into the joke where you really shouldn't be laughing. Immediately you see that there is something off about Arthur Fleck, and I like that the movie does that, because immediately you begin to buy that this is not a well man, and he's probably going to be heading down a dark path. But it's not just that. Where I'm really going to give the movie credit for showing Arthur Fleck's mental illness, and credit to Joaquin Phoenix as well for his amazing portrayal of it, is kind of how he sees the world. Like, in a way, you know, he has that conversation with the social worker, and he's like, is it me, or is it getting crazier out there? I'll probably touch on this more as the review goes along, but there are certain moments throughout the movie where you kind of see things from his head, from his point of view, or his imagination, and you really see, in a way, he just believes it so much that like, in his eyes, it's reality. Like, he and his mother every night will watch this, late night talk show that's hosted by Robert De Niro, and, he brings on certain people, just interviews them, kind of like the late night show with Jimmy Fallon or Seth Meyers or something like that. And one day as he's watching, but the way the movie kind of portrays, it looked like maybe he was in the audience one day, and, Robert De Niro, called on him, and, Arthur Fleck stood up, and, he kind of said a little bit about himself, and he's like, why don't you come downstage, and, we'll talk to you a little bit, and, in that moment, he finally got to meet Robert De Niro, who in this movie is kind of an idol to him, and you see it from that perspective, and for a while you're wondering, like, okay, I think this is just a figment of his imagination, but it could be real. And then soon enough you find out, oh, okay, he was just imagining the whole thing. This clearly wasn't real. But one thing the movie does later that I really, really was just floored by is what they do with a certain character that's in this movie. Early in the movie, Arthur Fleck runs into this woman, Sophie, the single mother, played by Zazie Beetz, who lives in his apartment, and we see one day he goes to her room, or actually she comes to his room, and he asks her, hey, I'm going to be doing a stand-up show at some point. Would you want to come check it out? And she's like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And gradually over time, she goes to his shows, she's supporting him, you see them going on dates together, soon enough you see them as a couple together. But then there's a point later on in the movie when he goes into her apartment, he's just sitting there on the couch like watching TV, she comes out, and she's just all like, what are you doing? I think you have the wrong house. And at first he looks at her kind of confused, but then she looks at him and it's like, your name's Arthur, right? What are you doing here? Is everything okay? And then it's in that moment you're just like, oh my god, he imagined that whole thing. Like, he just put himself into a reality where they were a couple, where that was his girlfriend, but in reality, she's probably never talked to him beyond the encounter they had earlier in the elevator. And soon enough, you do see it, like, you see various moments where Arthur Fleck, earlier in the movie was implied that Zazie Beetz was with him. In reality, nope, not at all. He was imagining the whole thing. I'm just thinking, like, holy shit, I love that the movie did that it sucks you in to the point where you are beginning to see what Arthur Fleck's perspective of the world is becoming. One of the areas that I really gotta give this movie props to as well is how it addresses how kind of the world sees mental illness. A lot of times they ignore it or they don't really do anything about it, and that's ultimately what pushes people to the breaking point. Like Arthur Fleck, he would meet with this social worker every week to get medication, to talk about how he's feeling and everything along those lines. But, she's not really giving him anything. And even at one point, he's like, you ask me the same question every week. Am I having negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts. And even later on, when Arthur Fleck finally gets on stage and he does stand-up comedy, which he was struggling to get through for a while because, his laughter condition, he discovers that Robert De Niro was making fun of him on his late-night show. And, he's poking fun of how he's not funny, how, he has no hope as being a stand-up comedian. Just really demoralizing him, and you can tell it's having that kind of effect on Arthur Fleck. But what I even like seeing, kind of getting back a little bit to, how, certain things are seen from Arthur's perspective or his imagination, how sometimes you're not entirely sure what's maybe real and what isn't, you begin to think, the movie at least puts you in the mindset, with a few other theories. Arthur's mother, Penny, who's very old, he's basically taking care of her now. She's trying to send this letter to Thomas Wayne because Thomas Wayne's running for mayor, and she's thinking, oh, he's a good man, he'll help us. She wants work for him as a maid. And in this letter that she's prepared to send to Thomas Wayne, she writes how Arthur Fleck was their son, that he had an affair with her, and Arthur Fleck was their son. So he's thinking, oh my god, I'm Thomas Wayne's son. And so one day he tries to go to the Wayne mansion to try to talk to Thomas Wayne. It's here he meets child Bruce, young Batman. Which at that point kind of made me thinking, like, so wait a minute, are Batman and the Joker technically brothers in this universe? I don't really know, but I mean, he has that little conversation with Bruce, he puts his fingers in his mouth and tries to make him smile. That was weird, but with Arthur Fleck, you kind of expect that at this point. But, Alfred shows up, and he kind of has a reaction towards him that anyone would. It's like, get the hell out of here, you sick fuck. Don't do that to a fucking kid. Finally, Arthur Fleck is able to have a confrontation with Thomas Wayne himself, trying to say, like, hey, I'm your son, you're my dad. let's be a family, and Thomas Wayne just punches him in the face. It's like, one, don't you ever go near my son again, and two, your mother was insane. That never happened. You were adopted. And what I love seeing right here is when Arthur goes to look at his, mother's case file from the Arkham Asylum, he discovers that he was indeed adopted, and what happened was his mother she was insane. She mind fucked herself so badly that she and Thomas Wayne had this baby, but in reality, she did adopt this baby, and she was in a horrible, abusive relationship, with this boyfriend who would physically abuse her, physically abuse Arthur, and she'd always talk about how, oh, my Arthur was such a happy little boy, and she's probably thinking the fact that, he was laughing all the time because he had that condition, so he was just always happy and laughing at everything. But in reality, because of her own condition, she couldn't see that it was a mental illness and she had to do something about it. And it really is what I like seeing, because you feel like sometimes kids who are born to mentally ill parents, they might carry something like that down with them. You wonder if it's genetic. It's just a moment I love seeing, because you kind of begin to see why he and his mother have the relationship that they have and why they, had the issues that they have. And yeah, I know I've been kind of jumping all over the place with this review a little bit, but let me go to what is probably one of the more iconic moments in the movie. It's kind of, for me, where you really see Arthur Fleck kind of become the Joker. Earlier on in the movie, you saw it in the trailer, he was just outside twirling a sign in his clown suit. A bunch of kids came and took the sign, then they beat him up, and, one of his co-workers was like, here, I'm going to give you this gun, use this to protect yourself. The problem is Arthur doesn't know when and when not to have the gun on him, and one day he's performing for kids in a hospital, then the gun falls out and they see it, and of course they report it, and his boss is like, oh yeah, you can't bring a loaded gun to a children's hospital, you fucking moron, you're fired now. One day he's on a subway just trying to get back home, and there are these guys in suits on the train as well, and Arthur starts doing his thing where he's laughing uncontrollably, and the guys are looking at him, it's like, oh, what's so funny, you fucking freak, and they start beating him up like those kids were beating him up. But it's in this moment as he's getting beat up, Arthur just pulls out the gun, he shoots down the three of them, and he just books it out of the subway, he runs away, and then he starts seeing on the news, Thomas Wayne addresses it, it's like, oh, someone shot these, three very good, very successful Wayne employees out of spite because, they're jealous of their success, these murderers are clowns. But ironically, you kind of see the revolution that Arthur Fleck has, in a way, kind of inspired, because a lot of people out there are wearing clown masks, they're wearing clown makeup of their own, they're riding against Thomas Wayne. It's like, oh, you're not about the people, you're just about the wealthy and the people who work for you. And it's kind of giving Arthur the wrong inspiration. It's like, people are noticing me, people are inspired by me. It harkens back to what Ra's al Ghul said to Bruce in Batman Begins. It's like, they can kill you, but if you can make yourself a symbol, you'll never die. Your legacy will carry you forever. And that's where you kind of now see what I'm guessing the legacy of the Joker was becoming. And then going back to when he finally found out that his mother was lying to him, that he was adopted, it's in this moment that I think all fans agree, this is the moment where Arthur Fleck dies and he's just the Joker now. His mother recently had a stroke, she's been hospitalized, and he's just sitting there with her, and it's at this point Arthur finally says to her, he's like, I used to think my life was a tragedy, but it's not. It's a fucking comedy. And he just takes the pillow and he smothers his mom and he kills her there. In that moment, you really feel like Arthur has officially been broken. He's gone. He's caved in now. It's like he is the Joker. He is accepting himself as the symbol that Gotham sees what he was when he killed those people. It's also reached this point that he gets a call from the people who run Robert De Niro's talk show, and they're just like, oh yeah, you're the gentleman where he talked about you did some stand-up comedy. Well, he would love to have you on the show. Is there any chance you'd be interested in coming on? And he's like, yeah, of course. What I like is you initially see him kind of rehearsing how, how he's going to go on stage, how the conversation's probably going to go with Robert De Niro. At first, and in his rehearsal, you kind of see Arthur just on his couch being all like, oh, knock knock, and Robert De Niro's going to be like, oh, who's there? And then, Arthur's going to pull out a gun, and I was thinking, because from what it looked like in the rehearsal, that Arthur was just gonna kill himself on national television or something like that, as like, you know, his, you know, big ta-da moment or something. And then it's later on, as he's like getting ready for the show, you know, he's putting on his makeup. At one point, he's just in pure white-faced makeup. That was creepy looking. Then two of his co-workers, they come in to check on him because they haven't seen Arthur in a while, and, you know, they're concerned for him. And, you know, they're beginning to see that Arthur is kind of broken a little bit, like he's kind of going past the point of no return. And at one point, Arthur literally just gets a knife, and the guy who gave him the gun, which in a way did get him fired, Arthur literally just stabs this guy to death. You know, blood goes flying everywhere, just gets all on Arthur's face. The little person friend, he's like freaked out of his mind. He's literally hiding in the corner, like, he doesn't know what's gonna happen to him. I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? You know, Arthur even says to him at this point, it's like, you were always nice to me. You're good to leave. But it's at this point, you know, the little person, he goes up to the door, but the door is latch locked and he can't reach the latch. And at first, I was thinking right here, oh, what's gonna happen? Was this all just a joke to him? Is, you know, the Joker actually gonna kill him too? Just wanted to give him that false hope that he could leave. But no, Arthur still goes to the latch, he opens the door, he like kisses the little person on the head, and he just lets him go. And that's what I really love seeing right here. This is all just a game to the Joker now. This is all just like, you don't know what's gonna happen now. It's completely unpredictable, and I love that. I love not knowing where the story's gonna go. It's even as he's on his way to the show, he gets stopped by these police officers who are trying to question him about what happened that night on the subway when the murders happened. You know, he's now in like full Joker, you know, outfit, makeup, everything. Cops pursue him onto the subway where a bunch of these guys in clown masks and clown makeup are hiding because, you know, they're all part of this riot that's going to be going on outside of, you know, the show. So yeah, it's literally perfect for the Joker to try to slip through this little crowd as the police try looking for him. As the cops are trying to just move their way through the crowd, you know, at one point they think they see the Joker and they shoot him, but they end up shooting, you know, one of the innocent guys on the train, which leads to a huge scuffle, leads to absolute chaos. You know, the cops just get beat to shit. And, you know, the Joker, he just walks out of all of it completely unharmed. I love seeing that. It's just completely iconic. He just walks out of there unharmed, just goes off to the studio while behind him, just, it's chaos. The Joker is an agent of chaos. I fucking love seeing that in this movie. So, you know, now Arthur is finally at the studio. Robert De Niro comes backstage, tells him what's going to go down. But before the show happens, Arthur looks at Robert De Niro and he says, hey, when you call me out, can you introduce me as Joker? Because that's actually what Robert De Niro referenced him as when he was making fun of him, and Robert De Niro's like, alright, whatever, yeah, we can do that. You know, Robert De Niro introduces him as Joker, and he comes out in kind of the exact entrance you'd probably expect him to give. You know, just dances his way onto stage, you know, shakes Robert De Niro's hand. There's like this psychiatrist lady they had on the show, he just goes up to her and just kisses her right on the lips. You're just like, that's so weird and it's awkward, but it's very fitting. And yeah, what I love seeing in this interview between Robert De Niro and the Joker is truly seeing, like, this is where the evolution has completed, because right here the Joker is showing, like, no empathy whatsoever for the people who have died, the cops that have gotten hurt, the people he murdered. He's making a lot of really sick, morbid jokes that really aren't funny. Even I'm sitting there, I'm like, I got a really fucked up sense of humor, and I'm hearing the stuff he said, I'm just like, yeah, you definitely can't say that on TV. And Robert De Niro's like, dude, you're like this close from getting thrown off the fucking show. And at this point, yo, Arthur finally reveals, he's like, yep, it was me. I killed those people on the subway. I'm the reason those two cops are gonna be in the hospital. They're near death because of that chaos. I'm the reason behind all this rioting, all this protesting. It's all me. And then now he's like, before the show ends, let me tell you a joke, Robert De Niro. Knock, knock. You know, he's like, who's there? And now it's at this point you realize, okay, so this is the joke he was going for. Now he's going to kill himself. But no, he makes a comment somewhere lines of, it's like, what do you get when, you know, the super wealthy and the famous neglect the disenfranchised like me in this world? You get what becomes of me. And then, you know, he whips out the gun. He kills Robert De Niro on television, which you're just like, holy shit, what the fuck? I seriously did not expect that. I really, at no point, really saw that coming. I seriously thought, you know, Arthur Fleck was just going to commit suicide on live television and think, like, you know, oh, his statement has been made, he's done what he needed to do, but no, he's, like, reached a point where he does not give a fuck what happens to him. He was probably thinking, on this night he was gonna die anyway, so he's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna kill the guy who made fun of me on TV. I'll take care of him too. I love seeing that here with the Joker because he's living every day like he's probably going to die. He doesn't care if he dies. He doesn't care what happens to him. He doesn't care about anything including himself. He's like, I'm just gonna cause chaos until death finally catches me. It's even as he's being taken away in the police car, you just see Gotham is in absolute chaos right now. There's fire everywhere. There are protests going on. People are wearing these clown masks and everything. At one point even, one guy is wearing a clown mask and you see Thomas Wayne, his wife, and Bruce together and you're thinking, oh shit. And some guy in a clown mask comes up to them, murders Thomas Wayne, murders his wife, right in front of Bruce, robs them, and you're just like, holy shit. So the Joker, in a way, caused the death of Batman's parents, and that's what's gonna lead to Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. Holy shit, that's fucking awesome. It's like you see all of this going on, and like the cop is telling Arthur, it's like, this is because of you. You caused all this, and Arthur's just looking at all of it, and he's just like, yeah. Isn't it beautiful? At one point though, the cop car that's transporting Arthur Fleck, it just gets rammed by this garbage truck. You know, they bring Arthur Fleck out of it, and you know, they have him on top of the car just in front of this crowd of clowns and his people. You know, they see him as this god, they see him as this leader, as their king, and you know, they see him as the clown prince of Gotham now. I love what Arthur Fleck does. What he does is, you know, he's obviously hurt from getting hit by a fucking garbage truck, but what he does is he takes the mouth around his blood and he makes the Joker smile with it, and he just stands victoriously among the crowd of people. Just at that point, he's just gonna put a smile on his face for the world to see. And then the final scene in the movie, you see him in an actual mental hospital. You know, he's just sitting there laughing. You know, someone's just, you know, trying to communicate with him. The psychiatrist is trying to talk to him, and she's just all like, what's so funny? He's like, oh, I just thought of a joke. And she's like, do you want to tell me? And he's just like, no, you wouldn't get it. And literally, as he's walking out, you literally see like bloody footprints as he's walking out, and then he's getting chased around by the people who work there. So now that leaves you wondering, oh shit, he probably killed the psychiatrist who was interviewing him, and now these people are just trying to catch him. It's like, yep, again, everything's just a big joke to him now. It's all a comedy. I just love seeing that. Like, even in prison, he's not gonna stop. He will always cause chaos wherever he goes, because he's the Joker now. So all in all, you guys, Joker was amazing. Joaquin Phoenix gives definitely the best performance of the year, probably the best performance of his whole career. He absolutely deserves an Oscar nomination for this. If he is not at least nominated, I will riot like those people did in the movie. I mean, he was awkward, he was disturbing, you could tell something was very, very wrong with him, and just the way he acted with people, the way he responded to situations. I absolutely bought him as this guy who was going to break and become a psychopath. Robert De Niro was great in this movie too. He's not in the movie for very much, but I really did buy him as this talk show host. I thought he really crushed in this movie. You could tell he was having fun with the role too, which I appreciated. This movie's definitely not an action superhero movie. If you're going into this movie hoping for that, hoping like the final scene of this movie is this big throwdown between Joaquin Phoenix's Joker and Batman, you're going to be very disappointed in this movie. This movie is not an action movie, it's not a superhero movie, it's not even that much of a comic book movie. This is a psychological thriller that takes a very, very deep look into what mental illness is. Is this movie disturbing at times? Absolutely. Is it unsettling at times? Oh yeah. It's not always the most comforting to watch. I mean, you're literally watching a downward spiral of a human being with a mental illness. But I really appreciate the very deep and very detailed look it gave us into what happens to people who aren't treated the way they should be with that mental illness, or how they should be treated for something like that. Because, you know, as society, I'm sure we look at people with a mental illness and our goal is like, alright, stay away from them, just get them out of here entirely, and they don't want to give them the help that they need, but that's what can lead to them becoming, you know, the Joker. Or something equivalent to the Joker anyway. This movie is dark, it's twisted, it's discomforting. It literally was the perfect origin story for the Joker. I don't know how this movie could have given us an origin story any better for a character like that. In the end, I know some people will definitely be a little divided about how dark the movie is, but for my money, this is one of the best movies of the year, easily. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.